that's kind of like a dive bar. And the truth is, I don't like concerts that much. I find them very overwhelming generally, and I sometimes have a hard time connecting to the music, which is a shame because I want to like them more, but I don't typically. It's important for me to know the music beforehand in most cases, although once I went with my friends to see this, at that time, unknown to me band called Ott. And I just went to hang out with my friends, and I was like, because I was in town visiting, so I was like, I'll do anything to hang out with my friends. And it actually blew me away, and I had a great time. But typically, I like to know the music already. I like a small venue where I don't feel trapped, like maybe it's outdoors, or people have assigned seats, and things like that. And the person I live with loves concerts, so we try to find a happy medium. Although they go to concerts without me all the time, and that's totally great for them and for me. Anyway, I was excited about this concert, even though the tickets were bought like 5 months in advance. And it was going to be at this dive bar in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, that has an outdoor venue kind of area behind the dive bar. So I was excited about that. We looked at Airbnbs, but by the time we got our shit together, most of the Airbnbs within our price range that also suited our needs in terms of nights of stay, and we wanted a jacuzzi or something, some kind of water, body of water, tub of water, things like that. There just wasn't a lot to choose from, which was okay because we couldn't find a good Airbnb. We looked at other options, and we found this hot spring place if this concert was in the middle of nowhere, this hot springs place was like even more in the middle of nowhere. The middle of nowhere, like a gas station, a pawn shop, and 3 liquor stores kind of thing. We didn't know that at the time. We just were like, oh, reasonable price, nice rooms, sounds good. So we went, and they had a pool and a hot tub, so we're like, that's nice. So we got there, and it was more of like a bed and breakfast situation, B&B situation, where like you had to ring the bell to get inside the first time you entered, and there was just one woman working there. And when we first arrived, she was like, oh, how did you find us? Did you come for the hot springs, or did you come for the architecture? Because the building had really beautiful mid-century modern, like classic mid-century modern architecture. And in truth, we hadn't looked it up for either of those things. We just found it because it worked for us. But I didn't want to disappoint her, because she like in a classic mid-century modern way, with lots of like peaks in the front entrance had like a peaked thing with like glass and lots of triangles and like very interesting lines made by the roof and the supporting beams. There was also a fireplace that was central to this circular seating area that was very unique. And the colors chosen too were kind of like pillow mint colors, if that makes sense. So it was even better than we expected. It was also very different to what we had expected. The rooms, there were not many rooms, there were like 6 rooms, which was great. And we knew that. But the rooms themselves were Spartan, like bare, no nonsense. We had a bed, a low profile bed in our room, 2 shelves, like a mini fridge, and that was it. Oh, a chair, and that was it. And then the doors into the room were just French doors with little glass panes in them so you could see through. So for privacy, they had a string hung up inside the room with white linen curtains hanging from it that you could draw for privacy and to keep the sun out in the morning. Only somewhat though, because the sun still was like streaming in at dawn. And the whole point was that it was a kind of wellness spa. Again, not pricey, but no TVs. Everyone kind of kept quiet, and you couldn't take phone calls outside, things like that. They were also known because we didn't know this, she told us, but they were on top of 2 different hot spring sources. So one was cold and one was hot, and as such they had the pool, which was like 80 degrees and heated by nothing but the hot springs, which is kind of amazing. And then they had like a hot tub shaped pool next to the pool that was a bit hotter. And then in a gazebo they had another pool. It was like covered with a tin roof, and that pool, I forget what she said, but it was like, I mean, is it crazy to say 140 degrees? Probably. It wasn't boiling, of course, it was safe to go in, but it was so hot. It was almost like a sauna, because you would go in for like comfortably like 5 minutes at a time, and you would just be sweating, and then you would get up, hop, go to a cool pool, and then, swim a lap there or hang out there, and then go back to the hot one. So we would like go back and forth between the hot and cool pools to kind of get our blood moving, Doing that can act as a sort of pump for your blood, because when you're in very cold water, all the blood gets drawn into the core of your body, and then in hot water, obviously, it gets pushed back out again, and you sweat out a lot of toxins in the hot water because you're just sweating balls. So it was nice because we stayed 2 nights. The first night we just chilled, and the second night we went to the concert, of course. We also went to a really good restaurant the first night in a nearby town. It's not a city, I'm not going to call it a small city, but compared to where our spa, like hot springs place was, it felt like a city, and the food was delicious. I never order martinis, but this place was really into like their martini bar, and I was swayed by the little insert in the menu about most amazing of ways. It was delicious. So, the second day, we hung out by the pools some more, just having fun, like just being stupid. Sometimes too, we had to be quiet, because the whole thing was about people would come there and kind of hole up for a week or hunker down for a week, make their own food because there was a kitchen, and sort of reset, so often when I was talking to the person I live with, we were like practically whispering, even though it was broad daylight and we were outside on pool chairs, but we would whisper just to respect other people's time and space. But we were still silly, like we were on bee patrol in the pool, like saving bees with little pieces of leaf and things like that, and it was very fun. We saved a lot of bugs, and we also sweated a lot and like replenished our electrolytes and all of that as well. So it's a strange feeling because after you do that for a long time, like a day and a half, 2 days, I felt both tired and well rested, like tired but in a good way, like I had been wrung out and then revived, sort of, but not full of energy per se either, because I just was sweating so much. Anyway, the second night we went to the concert, which is at this dive bar, like I said, but it's also in the middle of nowhere on a set for, like, the whole town is kind of fake. It's not, I don't think anyone lives there. It just is like a western town built to look super, super western, to be used for a movie set, basically. So you can walk up and down this like movie set western street, and it has little shops and stuff that you can buy things from, but it's not a real town. It's got like a dusty, dirty central walk and, like split rail fencing, is that what it's called? And just like saloon looking places and like trading post looking places, but it was all built for movies. I don't know who is doing garage work right now, but that's a thing in the background. So that was very odd, and I loved it. Then we got some tacos nearby, and then we heard the band play, and they were very good, and that was fun. Even cooler was that we were outside. We were outside, and in the sky was a full moon, and we saw over the course of the concert the total lunar eclipse. The total lunar eclipse. So the moon turned red as the concert was going on, and then became white again as the concert ended. And I was joking with the person I live with that like it was like a timer for the concert, like keeping time. It was keeping time. And I had said the night before when we were waiting for dinner, because we had to wait a very long time for dinner. We didn't know it when we chose the place, but we accidentally chose a very like hip place. A hip place. So we had to wait a while, but it wasn't so long that we would have found another place we wanted to go in that time, arrive there, get a table. It was like not so long that it was worth leaving, but we were still waiting for a while because it was very hip and very busy. Our mistake, but the food was so good. I'm really glad we stayed. Anyway, we were sitting outside waiting for our table to open up because we were just the sky is still blue and the moon is not just like normal day moon, it's like a really bright moon. And so it was rising as we waited for our table to free up, and there were 2 palm trees like this. And I said to the person I live with, when the moon is above the tall palm tree, the tallest of the 2, that's when our table's gonna be ready. And so we were just watching the moon rise really slowly until it was there, and then our table was ready. So at the concert too, I was saying to them, like, the moon, the eclipse is kind of like keeping the time of the concert. And it was cool because the band recognized the eclipse too and kept referring to it, and it just felt nice and special. And then after the concert, we drove back to our little hot springs place. One benefit of a small place and a hot springs place and a place intended for adults only is that, unlike big hotels where like the pool closes at 9:30 p.m. and then it's done, at this place we were free to use the pools at any time of day or night. So I think just because it was smaller and it was understood that if you did go in at night, you weren't going to like make a bunch of noise and have a party and be drunk and stuff. You would just be going in calmly, which is what we did that night. There was a crazy wind going on, a crazy wind, and so we ran out and jumped